On an icy February morning, a veteran snowplow driver named Frank Carlson pushed through the edge of Highway 97, clearing endless drifts beneath a pale orange sky. The air was silent, save for the moaning wind scraping across the frozen asphalt. He had driven this route for 25 years, each storm feeling the same, until this one. Frank's headlights cut through the swirling snow, revealing faint shadows of fence posts and abandoned mailboxes half buried in white. Every few minutes, his radio crackled with static, though no dispatcher's voice came through. He brushed it off as interference from the weather, but the distortion almost sounded like whispers forming words. Near mile marker 31, the plow blade struck something solid, a jarring impact that shuddered through the cab. He threw the machine into neutral and stared into the white abyss stretching ahead. The rhythmic hiss of the idling engine mixed with something else, a muffled thudding, irregular and faint, coming from beneath the ice. Frank stepped down, boots crunching on packed snow. The air pressed against him with heavy silence. He knelt, brushing away shards of ice until something metallic gleamed, a rust-streaked car door, buried deep like a coffin in the drift. At first, he thought it was an old wreck, maybe forgotten after a storm years ago. But as his glove traced the outline of the door, he noticed fresh tire marks leading in, none leading out. The realization tightened his chest. Someone had come through here recently, but the vehicle beneath the snow looked decades old. He radioed the county dispatcher again, only static answering. Even the emergency frequency came back dead. Somewhere deep inside him, Frank felt the stir of dread, subtle but electric, as if time itself had folded across that lonely highway. Peering into the open crack of the half-exposed window, he aimed his flashlight inside. Frost clung to the glass, but behind it, he could see a face, motionless, covered in a thin film of ice, eyes open wide as though terrified mid-breath. The face hadn't aged. It was as if frozen between heartbeats. Frank staggered back, muttering to himself that it was impossible. The license plate beneath the snow bore a green design he recognized from old photos, plates retired over 40 years ago. And yet, the snow was fresh, not even a footstep around it older than a few hours. He called the sheriff's office on his cell phone, hoping the cellular network fared better. The call connected for half a second before cutting to garbled static. Somewhere amid the noise, a voice whispered his name in the wind stutter, clear enough to freeze him mid-dial. Frank climbed back into his plow, turning the heat to full blast, trying to rationalize what he saw. Maybe an old wreck thawed loose by shifting ice. Maybe he imagined a name whispered through the storm. He tried to log the coordinates, but the onboard GPS flickered, showing a blank screen. Minutes stretched into an uneasy hour as he waited for daylight. The snow stopped, leaving the landscape eerily still, no sound, no wind, no movement. Only the constant feeling of being observed by something unseen behind that white curtain of silence. When dawn came, the form of the buried car appeared clearer under a dim gray morning. Its color was faded turquoise, the style dated from the late 1970s, chrome edging dull under frost. Frank's pulse thudded. His father had owned a car exactly like it when Frank was a boy. He wiped the hood and stopped cold at the sight stamped into the faded paint, his father's initials, carved the same way he remembered doing as a kid with his pocketknife. The cut lines hadn't weathered. They looked freshly made, as though they'd been sealed in ice yesterday. His breath fogged as he stared at the letters, trembling in disbelief. The logical half of his mind screamed coincidence, but the voice that lived in the deep corners of memory whispered otherwise. Something about this moment was wrong, violently wrong. He circled to the trunk, brushing away snow. A badge caught the weak morning light. It matched the model his father had sold the day before he vanished, back in 1983. Frank's knees weakened, nearly buckling into the slush at his feet. Shaking, he yanked open the door. The interior was pristine, untouched by time, upholstery without a single crack, a faint scent of his father's old pipe tobacco lingering. A folded newspaper lay on the passenger seat, its headline dated February 2, 1983. He blinked, lips quivering. The date was exactly 40 years to the day. He glanced at his watch, but even its hands had stopped moving, frozen, just like the man inside that frosted window. Panic rose like bile at the back of his throat. Snowplow's engine sputtered, headlights dimming before everything cut out. Silence blanketed the world again, no wind, no bird, only the eerie hum of a presence lingering just beyond perception. Time, it seemed, had stopped spinning in that patch of road. He reached into the car, brushing frost from the steering wheel. His glove trembled upon contact, the leather seat felt warm, impossibly warm. The radio inside crackled to life and played an old broadcast of a missing person alert, his father's name announced twice before fading into deep static. Frank stumbled backward into the snow, staring wide-eyed. The voice hadn't been a recording. It sounded live, deliberate, looping exactly around his father's name like an echo caught in time. His spine felt weighted with cold realization, he wasn't standing where, but when. The horizon shimmered faintly, bending as if heat waves rippled through sub-zero air. The car started humming, the metal vibrating softly before the entire scene flickered, edges of reality warping like a disturbed reflection. Frank clutched his head as dizziness consumed him. In the blur, he thought he glimpsed figures beyond the tree line, shadowy and indistinct, flickering between positions, faces turned straight toward him. The air pulsed with a low hum, reverberating like deep water under pressure. His heartbeat synced with that unnatural rhythm. Then, silence again. The snow began falling backward, upward, returning into the clouds, gravity completely reversed. Frank gasped as his footprints lifted off the ground, dissolving one by one until the field was pristine, untouched by man or machine. Cars' shape blurred, fading under the surface of the snow as if sinking beneath liquid light. Its headlights winked once more before vanishing into pure whiteness. The hum stopped. Only Frank remained, gasping in disbelief. Moments later, flashing lights pierced through the fog, county patrol vehicles arriving, officers shouting his name. They found him standing motionless in the middle of the plowed lane, his snowplow idle behind him. But where he pointed, there was nothing. Deputy Harlan checked his map and frowned. No marker 31 existed on their records. The road, according to the engineers, ended 3 miles before this spot. Yet the worn sign Frank described was physically there, half buried in snow. They combed the area, dragging probes through the drifts. No car, no tire marks, no evidence of disturbance. Even Frank's own plow tracks seemed to fade halfway down the hill, like they had been erased frame by frame. Frank's story made the rounds quickly. County news outlets called it frost delirium, others whispered about time folds, alternate echoes of the past bleeding into the present. The official report labeled it an unverified hallucination induced by exhaustion. Frank never worked another winter. He moved away, to a quiet town on the coast, though even years later, he swore the sound of a distant engine haunted him every time it snowed. He didn't mention his father's name again. In the spring thaw months later, the county maintenance crew resurfaced the area. While cutting through what remained of an old embankment, one of the workers unearthed a hunk of turquoise metal. The paint carried initials carved by a child's hand. The serial number matched a car reported missing in 1983, Frank Carlson Sr.'s vehicle. The find made headlines for a single day before the investigation abruptly closed, citing loss of evidence due to contamination. Locals refused to drive that section of highway once night fell. Motorists described headlights appearing behind them for a few seconds, then rising straight into the air and vanishing like sparks. GPS devices glitched whenever coordinates neared mile marker 31. Retired deputy finally revisited the site with drone cameras, trying to replicate images of the snowfield. The footage captured a faint outline, a box-shaped shadow beneath the surface of the ice. It disappeared the next frame. The clip went viral online, inspiring countless theories about dimensional echoes, time fractures, and purgatorial loops. Each frame dissected by skeptics and believers alike. None noticed the final 2 seconds contained a subtle reflection of a man watching the drone from the tree line. When slowed and enhanced, that man's face bore an unmistakable resemblance to Frank Carlson, older, pale, and ghostly calm. The timestamp on the footage? Exactly 1 year to the minute after his reported disappearance. Mystery remained unsolved, buried beneath local myth and bureaucratic indifference. But every winter storm since, snowplow drivers swear that a phantom beacon appears where no road should exist, guiding them towards something buried in the frost, something waiting to be uncovered again. And if you ever find yourself driving Highway 97 during a blizzard near the unseen mile marker, remember this: if your engine flickers and the static starts whispering your name, don't stop to dig. Some roads aren't meant to be remembered.